Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgia. I hope you're well. Welcome to this year's first episode of continuing series I am in the middle of. If you've watched any of my other sort of like goal setting videos, you will know that one of my big goals for 2026 is to keep the series that I am in the middle of under 25. And then basically the plan is once I get under 25, I want to keep it under 25. Once I get under 20, I want to try and keep it under 20. Once I get to 15, keep it under, and I want to keep doing that until I've ideally never got more than sort of like 10 series that I'm in the middle of. I used to be really bad for just like reading a book in a series and then just like never picking up another book from said series, and that's something that I really want to change because I feel like I then end up rating books lower because I don't fully remember what is going on from the previous books. I want to be better at that. I want to be better if I start a series, finish that series off, and then I'm not reading too many things at once. So for this video we are going to pick 3 books, but with me being such a big mood reader, I'm going to pick each book sort of as we go. So I have decided on what book I want to start with, and I am going to start with A False Start by Elsie Silver. So this is book 4 in the Gold Rush Ranch series, and it is actually the final book in this series as well. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. I feel like I read book 3 maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, and I just haven't got around to jumping into this one. I think there's a part of me that's just like not ready to leave Ruby Creek. I really love Elsie Silver's writing. I always get so invested in the stories, and Chestnut Springs is still my favourite, but I have really enjoyed this series as well. So I want to read this one first. I really want to sort of like get through a lot of Elsie Silver's writing because I want to be like seated when the new series comes out, and I want to say that's like this summer, so I really need to hurry up because I haven't read any of the Rose Hill series yet. So if I finish this one, I can then start the Rose Hill series, and then when Emerald Lake comes out I can jump straight into it because that is actually on my 26 and 2026, which is another goal I really want to hit this year, is actually reading all of those. So I need to get my ass in gear. So this is going to be the first book that we pick up in this video. I love a country romance. It's one of my favourites. I just find them so easy to read. I find that they're just real like take your brain out books, and I love that. So in this one, I believe we're following the main male character from book 3's sister and his best friend. So this is like a brother's best friend situation, which I always find is so exciting. I feel like they're so drama filled, and Nadia is just such a character anyway, and I just feel like this is going to be all the drama. So I'll just very quickly read you the back. So it says, I kissed her and the world stood still, but Nadia Dalka isn't just some girl. She's my best friend's little sister and completely off limits. My plan is to stay away, but the universe keeps pushing us together. It's like some sort of cosmic joke to give me a taste of something so electric, so real that I can't touch. I've always considered myself a strong man, but when she looks at me with those sultry eyes, so full of longing and free of judgment, I'm weak. Her sinful curls, her light-hearted laughter, and her wild side, I'm addicted to every last bit of her. To give in to our connection would be a betrayal. Her brother is the only family she has left, and sad as it sounds, he's also my only friend. But I've kissed her again anyway, and now I can't stop. I am so excited. I am so excited. It's the first time I've actually ever read the back of this book. I don't know why I've never got around to actually just like reading what this is about, because I feel like if I'd have read that ages ago, I'd have just jumped straight into this. And now I'm so excited. That just sounds like so much fun. Does that not sound so fun? This is also on Kindle Unlimited, so I'll probably do a mix of physically reading this and reading it on Kindle, because I do find that Kindle reading is just a little bit easier a lot of the time because I can sort of take that everywhere, whereas I don't actually like taking my paperbacks out of the house. Book 1 for this video, we are going to start with A False Start by Elsie Silver. Let's go. I'm currently on chapter 28 of A False Start by Elsie Silver, and do you know what? I'm really liking this one. I just love a country romance. I just think they're so easy to get lost in and so easy to just like live in, and I love it. So this one is the main character in book 3's best friend and little sister. So there's like a 14-year age gap. It is a very big age gap. We're basically following them after this sort of like encounter in a bar, not knowing who the other was, and then sort of like the aftermath of that. So they both feel like they had this massive connection on that night in the bar, and it's just been really interesting watching them both navigate the sort of like fallout of this. Nadia's brother also has a very traumatic childhood, but not quite as sort of traumatic as Nadia's. So like he doesn't have a lot going for him. They only really have each other. And then also Stefan, her brother, doesn't really have a big circle of friends either. He only really has Griffin. So obviously there is a lot of potential fallout for their relationship. It is really interesting sort of watching them both navigate this. We've had a lot of them together now, and sort of like Stefan now runs the ranch that Griffin used to own. Griffin is an ex American football player. He had quite a bad accident that left him with like sort of a really bad stutter and problems with his speech, and he's had just sort of a shit run too. And Griffin and Stefan just sort of really help each other out on the ranches and things. So there's a lot of sort of like forced proximity with the two of them. I usually really like a sort of like brother's best friend situation, or best friend's brother, and I do like that sort of setup, but equally the third act conflict that's going to happen is usually pretty obvious, and then it usually does end up kind of winding me up a little bit. Understandable, like the reaction to finding out your little sister is dating your best friend with a 14-year age gap. But I can kind of just like predict what happens, so I do kind of hope that it surprises me. This is the last book in the series, so I'm assuming, since we've not even hit the third act conflict yet, that it's going to be a pretty quick resolve, because I'm also assuming that we're going to have a nice round off of all the characters towards the end of this one somehow as well. So I am sort of like sad to be getting towards the end of this book. Obviously it's the last one in this series, so it does break my heart a little bit to be leaving Ruby Creek. We have also just had the first mentioning of Emerald Lake, which is the next series that's coming out later on this year, so it's kind of nice to see them sort of like all coming together, and I'm really happy with that. It's really nice. And obviously this is the first series that she wrote, so the fact that her fourth series is set in Emerald Lake, like, just how far ahead did she plan when she were writing these books? It's insane. I'm really enjoying this one. It's a lot of fun and super flirty and lusty and spicy, and I'm really enjoying the setup. So I'm gonna hopefully finish this in the next couple of days. I am really enjoying this one so far, so we will see how I feel at the end of this one. I will come back and check in with you guys later. I literally have like less than 50 pages of this book to go, and I think it's just gonna be really sweet, so I just want to sit and get this read now whilst I'm exporting some other videos and stuff that I've done. So let's sit and finish this book together. Epilogue. So I have literally just finished this book, and you know what, I really enjoyed this one. It was really interesting to see sort of like how this played out. I know I said a little bit earlier on that with the age gap brother's best friend books you can sort of guess what the third act conflict was going to be, but I do think it was done well. Obviously you expect that the brother's going to have some pushback about it, but how Nadia sort of like sorted that and was like absolutely not, and then how it didn't really become about that for the third act conflict. There's like lots of other factors that made the third act conflict not just the usual brother's not happy about it situation. So I did really enjoy that. I think it was a really interesting sort of way of doing it. The only thing I feel with this book is we didn't actually get that much of the other characters. So obviously the main character from book 3's little sister, we saw a lot of him and his partner, but I feel a bit like Violet and Billy, Vaughan, Cole, they were all a little bit forgotten about in this book. Like they were mentioned a couple of times, and Violet sort of popped up a little bit. But I do feel like this series as a whole was sort of like cut in half between Gold Rush Ranch and then Stefan's Ranch that I always forget the name of. I do feel like it wasn't really Gold Rush Ranch, it was a bit of both. So I guess it is sort of a lot of like Ruby Creek rather than Gold Rush Ranch, and like we still see Gold Rush Ranch here, and she's still working at the vet in Gold Rush Ranch and things like that, but it isn't Gold Rush Ranch, if you ask me. And I just feel like this wasn't as connected to the series as the other books have been. I really enjoyed this one. I think I'm going to settle for a 4-star, and it's sort of like my default, but I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun, and all in all I've just really enjoyed this series. There's something about Elsie Silver's writing that I just really enjoy, and this one was no different. So good spice, good sort of like dark and meaningful topics handled in a really lovely way, and just all in all a really nice read. I really like this one. I don't think it's my favourite in this series. I think my favourite is probably book 2 or maybe book 3, but I did really enjoy it still. Book 1 completed. I do think I'm going to start Sky Shade, which is book 3 in the Lightlock series by Alex Astor. I've read book 1 twice now, and then so I reread it at the beginning of, well, like the end of last year, and then I read Nightbane not too long ago, and now I'm going to read Sky Shade. So it's a fantasy romance. It's got a really fun and like really interesting magic system, and it's also a bit of like a love triangle, and I think this book is going to follow the part of the love triangle that I sort of want to happen. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the romance. The end of the last book was so dramatic. I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of how that all unfolds. So let's crack on with Skyshade. I'm here to give you guys a bit of an update on this here book. So I am about, I would say about 40%. Obviously they don't have chapter numbers or anything like that, but I'm on chapter clasp. So I want to say I'm about 40%. But so far I am really enjoying this one. It's sort of strange, so without trying to give you too much information and too many spoilers, this is the side of the love triangle that I sort of wanted to happen, but it's not happening in like your sort of standard way of super straightforward. There is a lot of, it's so hard to explain without giving you guys spoilers. It's the side of the love triangle I wanted, but begrudgingly, in the best way of putting it. So obviously, like, if you've read these books, you'll know exactly what I mean and why I'm struggling so hard to give you any sort of information here. But the sort of flashbacks of as things are happening again, it's so interesting, and I am really, really enjoying it. So I am really enjoying sort of seeing that, even though it's not happening quite as I would like. It's still very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of like where this series goes. Obviously I know there's another couple of books to go yet. So yeah, I am really enjoying this one. It is quite a fast pace. I am audioing it for the most part. I do keep picking up the book occasionally. I'm enjoying this one. I think what's sort of happening is really interesting, and how it's sort of unfolding is really fun. I'm enjoying all the side characters. I'm enjoying the little like animals and sort of sidekicks we've got. I'm sorry if you can hear Freya playing with her toy in the background. It's one of those like crisp packet sounding things. But yeah, I'm really enjoying sort of like the sidekicks and the little animals and things, but I'm also really enjoying just like the side characters and things like that. So all in all, I'm really, really enjoying this one as well. So I've only just noticed that that's like a storm going on in the little bowl there. Very fitting, very fitting. I am really enjoying this one, so I'm going to get back to reading and I'll come back to you guys with an update, but there really isn't much I can tell you about this book without it just being massive spoilers for books 1 and 2. So I find it really hard to sort of explain the happenings of fantasy books in these videos, because obviously if it's not the first book, I'm just giving you massive spoilers most of the time. So that's all I'm going to say on this one, and I'll come back to you later on with an update with this one. So last night I finished Skyshade by Alex Aster, and I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts and feelings on this one. So I really can't tell you much about without giving you spoilers. We are still following the same love triangle from the last book, and it's getting just sort of like messier and messier, but we do have a very like strong moment across the different realms, and I really enjoyed this one. I think the fight scenes were really interesting. I think the turn that it's taken is really nice as well. It's something I've not really read about before, and like the love triangle is also just really sort of strange and appealing, and I quite like it. I have decided on a 4-star rating for this one. This one does have a massive cliffhanger ending, and it does also mean I'm now ready for the novella. So this is the novella here, so it's like from Oro's perspective and Grimm's perspective, and it like flips in the middle, and I just think it's such a unique little concept. So then apparently after the novella and going into book 4, we then actually have like all 3 POVs, still obviously third person, but I think we just get like all 3 people's perspective rather than just following our main female character Isla, as we have been for books 1, 2 and 3. So I'm looking forward to sort of continuing on with this series. I am really enjoying it. I would definitely say that it's no longer following the same sort of like YA note as books 1 and 2. I do think this one is definitely getting spicier and definitely leaning more towards upper YA than just YA. But I really, really like it. I think the action is really fun. I think the story and the direction that we're taking is really fun. This does have a massive cliffhanger ending. And book 4, we still don't have a release date for the paperback. So obviously I've got this one to be reading, and then I'm then going to have to wait until I can get my hands on the paperback version. I'm not going to buy the hardback when the rest of my main series is in paperback, so we will see. I have been doing this on a mix of physically reading and audioing. I've been audioing it on, couldn't even tell you what app off the top of my head, let me double check. It was BookBeat. I was audioing this on BookBeat, and I do think the narration for that is really good. I think the audio is good for this one. Enjoying that, but I have mostly physically read it because I still don't have a car. Therefore I'm audioing in the car like I normally do. So Still really enjoyable. I've gone for a 4-star, which I think has been pretty standard throughout this entire series for me. But yeah, enjoyable read. I've really liked it. I do recommend this series. Massive cliffhanger ending, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. So, I have chosen my next book. We're going to jump into Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. Now, I've still got 3 other books on my TBR that I could read that are continuing series I'm in the middle of. I feel like my entire TBR for this month is just continuing series, to be honest. But I have decided to go for Heated Rivalry. I'm just in the mood for it. I'm in the mood for a nice hockey romance. I'm in the mood for some spice. I feel like, especially after sort of like a YA book, I always fancy something a little bit spicy. So I do think this one is going to be a good starting point. So I'll just quickly read you the back. Nothing interferes with pro hockey star Shane Hollander's game. Now that he's the captain of Montreal's Voyagers, he won't let anything jeopardise that. Definitely not the sexy rival he loves to hate. Boston Bears captain Ilya Rozanov is everything Shane's not. The self-proclaimed king of the ice, he's as cocky as he is talented. No one can beat him, except Shane. Publicly they're enemies, privately they can't stop touching each other. The smart thing to do? Walk away. Once a few secret hookups turns into a struggle to keep their relationship out of the press. The truth could ruin them both, but for Shane and Ilya, secrecy is soon no longer an option. I am so excited by this one. I think it's going to be sort of like a enemies with benefits sort of situation by the sounds of it. We've seen glimpses of Ilya in book 1, and I really like the sort of bits and bobs that we saw of him, so I'm really intrigued to see sort of like how it goes from there. So we will jump straight into this one. This is also on one of my audio apps as well. I want to say it's Everand. Yeah, so this is on Everand as well. So I do think, again, I'll probably do a bit of a mix between audioing and physically reading. So our next book that we're going to jump into, our next series we're going to be continuing on with, is the Game Changer series, and we are reading Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. Let's jump straight in. I am here with a little update on this here book. So I am currently on chapter 17, which is page 199 of this book, and so far I am enjoying it. I'm sort of like just over halfway. I'm probably about 60% through this, and I feel I have very similar thoughts on this as I did to like the first one in this book, to Game Changer, where it is fun and it is super spicy and it's really interesting and I'm hooked and I'm having a really good time. Like, I have read the first half of this book in like a day and a bit, and that's including a day with a 10-hour shift. I am hooked and I'm flying through it, and I'm doing a mix of physically reading it and audioing it, and I am enjoying that, but there's just a hell of a lot of spice. Like, I am a person that really enjoys spice in a book, and I am getting to the point where I'm a little bit like, yeah, okay, next, because it's like a good 80% of the 60% that I've read, you can do the math on that one, is spice. And as much as it's fun and it's all a little bit different and it's keeping it exciting and spicy, it is still just a bit like, yeah, okay, we get it. We get it. But like, the whole point in this one is they are sort of like enemies that hook up wherever they're in the same city, so it's obviously always very spicy and intense, and like, I am enjoying that aspect of it, but I just want a little bit more from these, I guess. I'm really hoping it has a similar sort of thing to Game Changer, where like, for that one, when it got to about the 70% mark, I was sort of like rehooked and reinvested in their story, because there was starting to be a little bit more to it than just the spice. And I'm really hoping we have a similar thing with this one. I can sort of see where we're going a little bit, so I'm hoping we're going to have a similar thing. Like, one of them's just started to accept what's going on and their feelings and their thoughts and everything, and are starting to embrace that side of themselves more. And again, I think it's going to have a really lovely message behind it. But at the minute, I'm just a little bit bored of the spice, which, you know, it's a lot from me, because I do like spice in a book, but these just have that little bit too much. But I'm really hoping that, again, it sort of like drags me in again, because I feel that's going to be a bit of a theme through these books for me, where like, I really enjoy the beginning and then I get a little bit bored in the middle, and then the ending really hooks me in again and gets me really back invested in their like sort of relationship and their story. So I'm holding out hope, but so far I am enjoying it. It's very quick and easy. I'm hoping that we can just fly through the second half of this, and like I say, be dragged back in. But so far I am enjoying it. It's good fun. So I will probably come back to you when I finish this one, but so far so good. I am having a good time. So we'll see how I feel at the end. Let's go. Last night I finished Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed, and I just wanted to give you my final thoughts and feelings on this book then. So the pattern so far with these books, obviously I'm only on the second book of the series, but I spend the first like 10-20% being like, oh, fun, and then I spend the middle chunk being a bit like, yeah, we get it, lots of sex, cool. Like, we get to probably like the last third of this book, and that's when like the third act conflict starts to come in a little bit, and I get a little bit like invested again, and then the endings are always so good and so sweet that I get like so obsessed with it again. And I feel like that's just been the theme so far. So I spend like the first bit like whoop whoop, and then the middle bit like, oh for fuck's sake, come on, and then the last bit like yes, and proper rooting for everybody and being so invested in the story. So I feel like I then end up rating it a 4-star because I'm just so obsessed with the endings. Like, I feel like saying I get bored in the middle isn't quite right. They are very, very spicy books, and it gets to the point where there's not really a lot of plot going on. It is just pure spice. Like, every other scene in these books is spicy until the third act conflict, and then we get a few chapters of like them trying to figure their life out, and then it all changes, and then I get really invested again. So I don't know, I feel like that's been sort of like the common theme for this series so far for me. I am still enjoying it, and I am going to keep reading it, but I do feel there is just far more spice than I think's necessary, and I am somebody who likes spice in a book, but this one is really fun. We have like a friends with benefits situation. How they resolved their third act conflict was so good. Like, I can't really say much without giving you massive spoilers, but it was just like how they sort of got discovered was actually quite sweet, and how that was like fixed after that was so lovely. And I all in all did just enjoy this one. I would probably say I like this one a little bit more than book one, but I also really enjoyed book one, and I don't know, I feel like they can't really win, but I'm still rating them quite highly because of how much I'm loving the endings. I don't know, I'm really, really loving it, and I'm so tempted. I cannot decide whether to just jump straight into Long Game or whether to continue with the series in order, because I feel like by the time I get to Long Game I'll probably feel a little bit lost to what's happening in these books, because obviously I've still got like 3 more to read before I get to the Long Game, so I don't really know what to do about that. But all in all, I did enjoy it. I did do some of it on audio, and I quite enjoyed the narration on that. It was just one guy doing both parts. I think doing anything other than a single narrator would get a little bit confusing, but I did enjoy this. I do think they're fun. If you like a spicy book, I think you'll really like these. They are MMR Saki romances. I really like this. I'm really excited to watch the series. I do think I might start that in the next couple of weeks as well. Now that I've read book 1 and book 2, I feel like I can actually get on board with that, but correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that does mean I can watch the series now. But that is the 3 books for this video done. I feel like it's been pretty successful. We've finished a series and we've continued into series. So far so good. I feel like we are definitely sticking true to our goals in continuing series and wrapping up some stuff, so I'm really happy with that. A successful little video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and as always, my social media, my Amazon, my Goodreads, my business email are all in the description bar below. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them in the comments. I always love hearing your guys' opinions. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope you're well. Take care. Bye.